Hello, it's Rachel at From Moments to Milestones, and I'm here today with our newest paper pad card kit. This is the Echo Park Winter Fun card kit. So we're going to make these 5 cards here. And if you do purchase this kit, you will receive all 5 cards kitted and instructions on how to put them together. I also include all the supplies I use to make the kits in the back. And then you will get the remainder of the paper pad that I cut from for the kits. So we are going to start with this one here, Chilling in the Snow. Get out my kits. And I've just got a little tray here from Spellbinders, because this one's got lots of little bits and pieces. You've got the nose and the mittens. Well, this is, I can get them out of there. Okay. And let's first I'm going to grab my card base, this blue panel, this mitten panel with the arch cut out, and this is the piece that we cut out. We're going to use that, but we're going to flip it over. So those are what we need to start with. So I'm going to go ahead and just put this blue paper down onto my card base. All right, and then I'm going to lay this down. I'm not going to actually glue it down. I'm just going to lay it down. And then I'm going to grab this piece. So I've got it right where I want it. I've got a little weird cut out of that paper. I'll fix that later, but for now. So I've got it centered on there where I would want it when I'm going to put it down. Maybe. There we go. And then this piece that fit inside, I'm just going to take it and flip it over. Now, this die is not perfectly symmetrical, so it will fit, but you're going to have a weird part down here, which is totally fine because we are going to add a snowbank with this cardstock. So we're going to put glue on the back of this. Okay. And so I've got that where I want it. And then I'm just going to make sure that it matches up here at the top and the sides the best that it can. And I can remove that. So it looks kind of crooked and weird, but we're going to cover up that awkward spot with this paper here. So what we're going to do is cut a, oops, sorry about that, hit the camera. We're going to cut a snowbank into this piece here. So I'm just going to freehand it, a wavy line, just like so. And then we're just going to put it down here at the bottom. So you can use this to see how tall you want it. Of course, I ran out of adhesive, so I'm going to have to go fill that up. I think I got enough to get that down. So I'm going to put it on like so. Perfect. And then we are going to add, you can glue it straight down if you want, pop up your snowman. I did pop it up. So I'm going to take some foam strips, put on the back of this piece here. All right, so I have the backing removed from all the foam, and then I'm just going to place that right back down over the arch. All right, and then you have this maroon frame, and that is just going to go right on the outside of that arch there. So I'm going to glue that down. I'm going to line it up first on the bottom, the rest. it's not perfect on the bottom, we're going to cover it up anyway. So if that helps with getting it lined up. All right, so there's that. So now we're going to work on putting together our snowman. So you need the little white die cut snowman and this black piece here. And we're going to glue that to the back so that his eyes, mouth, and buttons are black. Now mine's sticking out a little bit here at the top. That's okay. We're going to put a hat on him. So you can trim it down if you want or trim it into a couple pieces, but I'm going to go ahead and just glue it on there. All right, and then we have that pink hat, and there's a little embossed line that shows you where that should sit. Oh gosh, I can't grab anything. Okay, we're going to put that on like that. And then our hat has a piece of white trim and the little white pom-poms. So I'll put glue there. There are embossed lines, so you know exactly where to put it. Oops, I'm trying to put the wrong side down. All right, and then he has a blue plaid scarf. Put that part around his neck. There's also an embossed line there, but it really just goes right at the base of his head. And then you have this part of his scarf, and I'm just going to glue it right on top. Just like so. I popped it up a little bit on top so that it looks like it's kind of wrapped around. That makes sense. Okay. And we have a couple of, oh, we have his little nose. There's an embossed area for that. And his nose is on this piece of Post-it tape. It's pink on one side and maroon on the other. You can use whatever side you like. I'm going to use the maroon. Okay. And then he needs his arms. So we have 2 arms here. And that little circle goes behind and it's going to look just like that. You could switch him around and you could have his arms down like that. You could have one arm up, however you want to do it. I have both of his arms up, so I'm just going to stick with that. So I'm just going to put some glue on this round part and lay my snowman on top and pick it up. Same thing here. There's his little hands, and then you have the mittens. They're pink on one side, blue on the other. And those are going to go right over those little branch arms there. All right. And then on your Post-it, you have the little white trim pieces. And there are embossed lines on those mittens, but they're just going to go here and here. All right, so there's our little snowman. He's so sweet. And then we're just going to pop him up right there on top of the snowbank. So I'm going to put some foam on the back. think I'm going to cut one down and put it, what did I do with my little scissors? Put it behind the mittens. All right, we're going to pop our little snowman up here in the center. He's so sweet. And then our last little bit here is to put the sentiment on, and we're going to I'm going to hold this up. We're going to kind of mimic like a waving folded banner. So you have your sentiment piece, and then you have a piece that should be similar in thickness and color. So what I did is I'm going to fold it in half, and then I'm going to cut the banner in so that they both match. Okay. And then I'm going to come over maybe about 3/4 of an inch or so and just snip this part I'm going to throw away. And now I have these two pieces. And so I'm going to line them up. Let's see. My banner is about 3 inches long, and I want them to be sticking out here. So I'm just using my grid to kind of get it lined up and centered like so. And then what I'm going to do is put foam on both ends. One little foam square here and a little foam square here. And then I'll pull off the backing. And then I'm going to hold it like this. And then I'm going to lay it on top. I'm not going to, you could totally match it up and it will have the same effect. I can see a little bit of light blue on here, and I don't like that. I'm going to trim that down. But I'm going to leave a little bit on the bottom, so it's going to look. So there's that one. And there's that one. And now we have this cute little banner. And we're going to stick that down. So you just need glue here, and I'm going to put some more foam there. So it's all even. In the center and here. And then I'll put some glue on the little blue parts. And that is just going to get centered down here at the bottom. Perfect. That card is finished. On to the next card. Warmest thanks. I'm going to dump everything back in my little tray, and then I'm going to pull out these three pieces. The card base, this blue sweater pattern, and this maroon plaid. All right, so we're going to put this blue sweater pattern. It's just going to go centered onto your white card base. And then you have this plaid piece, which is also going to go centered. You just want to be mindful of the hole from your paper pad. We want that at the bottom. We're going to cover it up with this cut apart sheet, so nobody's going to know. Center that. All right, and then you have these two. You have the blue and hot cocoa, and that's just going to go right on top. Okay, and then this piece, we're going to put it down here on the right side, slightly tilted, and you're going to see we're going to cover up that circle or that hole. Put that piece down, just like so. There's just a little bit of that red showing down there in the corner. And so now let's put together our mug. So you need the base, the front piece, and then you should have 3 marshmallows and 2 little chocolate bars. So this piece is going to go on top, and then we're going to tuck in the chocolate bars. I am going to pop this up, and I'm going to leave room at the top. I'm not going to put a bunch of foam there at the top so that I can tuck things in. All right, so that just lines up with the mug on the outside, like so. And then I'm going to use some glue and tuck in my marshmallows. So I'm going to start with the chocolate bars. I got it going in the middle right there. There. And let's do marshmallow. And this last marshmallow there. So I just kind of made sure everything was touching. And then you have a large red heart that's going to go on the front of your mug. All right. And then before I put this mug down, you do have a snowflake hiding there. It's going to go here, and we're going to try to cover up that mug that was already printed. So just like so. And then let's add these snowflakes. So you have this one that's kind of back here. So I will put that one on, and then we can add the mug. And then I'm just going to glue this mug down. And it's straight, but I'm just making sure I cover up that mug that's printed. So there's that. And then we have this larger snowflake is up here in the corner. Here. Okay. And you have this itty bitty one. I need to poke out some of those tabs hanging in there. And that's just going to come up here in the corner. And then we have the sentiment, warmest thanks. And you may need to trim it down a little bit. I made it a little bit longer so it's easy to stamp on. Cut that. And it is going to go down here. It kind of covers up that awkward corner, just like so. And I did put mine up on a foam strip. And then we're going to finish with this last little heart. You could pop it up if you want. I just glued it straight down. And it's just right in between the snowflake and the sentiment, just like so. And that card is finished. The next card is Winter Kisses and Snowflake Wishes. I'm going to dump all that out. And let's go ahead and start with the base to get that out of the way. So we're going to glue this blue. There's a light blue and a darker blue. I'm actually using the darker, but you could certainly choose the lighter. My card opening the right way, just so I know which way it's going. All right, so then the snowflake paper, it's pink on the back side. I think that would also be pretty, but I'm going to use the snowflakes. And that gets centered on there. And then you have this plaid paper that's cut in an angle for you, and we're going to glue that down. So, and then we have, let's see, we have this little Winter Kisses sentiment and the frame. So I'm going to put glue on the back of my frame, just like right where the stitching lines are. And then flip this over and it should just fit in there. Hopefully it'll pick up the adhesive. Just like so. So I didn't get any adhesive on that side, but it's going to be okay. We're going to pop it up anyway. So I'll go ahead and put some foam on the back of that. I'll put it right over that so it stays secure. All right, I've got the backing removed off of that, and that's just going to go right here in the center. Kind of the two corners kind of go right where that blue paper goes through. And that's good. So now we have some fussy cutting to do. You should have, oh, that's right, somebody was missing theirs. So you should have this piece with the gloves, the sweater, and then a very small piece with that little hat. I'm just going to find my, here it is. The remainder of my pad and find the sheet with the little hat on it. I hope I have another one. I had to give mine away in class. I'm not sure where theirs went. Well, I don't think I have one, so we're just going to do without it. That's okay, but you'll have a little hat to cut out as well. It goes on top of the sweater, but I think it'll be fine without it. So I'm not leaving a border at all. I am just cutting right up to it. I'm not going to worry about those strings or, the connecting string. All right, I have my images cut. Like I said, you will have that little hat too, but I don't know where that other one went, so I'm just going to do without it. I think it'll be just fine. Those are going to go up there, but we have some snowflakes that I colored to kind of mimic that paper we used. So you should have 4 snowflakes. So the largest one is going to be pink. And then you've got you should have kind of a medium and 2 small. So the smallest one is going to be red and the medium one's going to be red. And then the smallest one will be blue and the pink will be the biggest one. So the 3 colors I used were Tattered Rose, Weathered Wood. I know the instructions say Stormy Sky. I was wrong on that, but I think it would work. I think it's just a little too gray maybe. I don't know. I don't remember why I chose Weathered Wood, but it matches well. So Tattered Rose, Weathered Wood, and Aged Mahogany. So I just have a dauber, and I'm going to do this largest one here. And I'm lightly doing a little circle on to the snowflake to get the color to transfer. I'm going to put it on nice and thick. I do want it to be dark and it'll dry back. All right, so try to keep my fingers off. All right, so there's the pink. And then, so next is the blue. Same thing. There's the blue. You could certainly leave them white if you wanted to. I just think it's kind of fun in here. They'll show up. It'll add more color. And then finally, these last two I'm going to do in aged mahogany. Maybe if I hold it with my tweezers, it won't rub the color off. Right. All right, so there's that. And those three little, you should have three little mini snowflakes. We're going to leave those white. You could certainly color them if you wanted to. Clean up my surface. Ideally, these would need to dry a little bit. I'm going to push forward. We might want to set them aside to dry so they don't transfer any color. But I'm going to start with these, the sweater and the gloves. So this is popped up. So if I just lay it flat, I still need to pop up these parts that are hanging off. And then if I want it to pop up more than that, then I would need to double up foam. So we'll see what we're going to do here. Maybe like that. I need a little bit on this end. I don't know. I think I'm going to need to cut that. There we go. So if I just have it flat, but I think maybe I doubled it up. No, I didn't. Did I? I don't think I did. Okay. We're going to lay that down. Is going to go right there. But before I do that, I'm going to tuck this snowflake in here and just glue that on. So it's kind of, and this would be really hard to put foam on. You could certainly try for like this extension here. I might put one on this opposite edge. It's pretty thin. Let's see if it shows up. You can see it a little bit too thick. So let me cut one really thin. You don't really have to. It's just that it's gonna, let's do it without it so you can see. All right, so this piece is gonna go here. Don't really want to cover up a bunch of my sentiment. And then this here. And so see how it's hanging off? You can certainly glue it there, but I would like it to be even. So what I'm going to do is cut super tiny strips, 2 of those. And I'm going to put them here. Okay, yeah, that'll work. What do I do with the other one there? There it is. One there. Where did I even glue that? Little fiddly. You could certainly tuck it in behind if you don't want to mess with all the fiddle being, you know, the fussiness of it, I suppose. All right. I want to cover up my sentiment just like so. And then those pieces right there are popped up, and that'll keep it level. Perfect. Then I'm going to remove the backing on the sweater. And then I will need a little wet glue just to stick it to the frame up in here. Just like so. There we go. And then if you have the hat, you could put that on top. I am going to go in with this, the larger of the 2 dark ones. Pull that up. Glue this snowflake down. It's just kind of tucked in here like so. Okay. And other 2, are up here. We've got one tucked behind the frame and one on the frame, just like so. And then the same with the mittens. So this one, I'm not popping up. I'm going to put foam on the top so it's level with the frame. Some glue on the bottom. And it's going to be right in here like so. Now this one, you don't have to pop it up. I think I'm going to glue it flat here, and then I think I'm just going to do the same thing I did. So a piece of foam on the top, glue at the bottom, and we're just going to stack them like so. Perfect. There we go. And then let's add this blue one. Right in there like that. That's the little red one. Right in here. Right, so there's that. And I'm going to finish. We've got 3 of those little white snowflakes. So I've got one up here, got one here, and one down here. There. There. That card is finished. All right, our next card is Birthday Wishes. And so let's see. Let's build up the base of our card. So you have your card base. Going that way. And we're going to put down the blue poinsettia paper. That. Like so. And you have this pretty die cut rectangle. And we're going to put that in the center. Like a square doily or a napkin. It's so pretty. And then you have this plaid piece that's going to go across the center. And we're just going to put it in the center. Let me find the center. Perfect. All right. And that looks just fine. And then you have this tag. You can use your scissors and fussy cut it. You can use your trimmer, which is what I'm going to do. Really, I think it'll be quicker, easier. And I just want to leave a little bit of blue all the way around. And I did slightly cut. There's like a printed bow on there. We don't need that, so I'm not worried about that. All right, so I've got that trimmed down, so it's got a nice blue border. And then that's going to go just like so, and we're going to pop it up. So that. All right, I've got the backing removed, and we're just going to lay that down. You can put it straight on. I'm going to tilt mine slightly. Just keeping it all inside that white tag though, just like so. And let's see, you've got a couple things. You've got flower here. You've got 2 3-petaled die cuts, and you are going to layer one on top of the other to create a poinsettia. I'm just going to play around with it until I like the flower that it makes. There we go. So I'm going to put glue on this one, and it kind of has a triangle base, so it helps to line it up that way. Right, just like so. So there's my flower, and then you should have an extra one of those little snowflakes. That's going to be your flower center. And then I pop mine up. You don't have to, but I'm going to. You're going to have to probably cut down a foam square for that. I'm just going to put one in the center. So, and then I'm going to lay that right over that printed one. So I'm going to try to cover it up the best that I can. If you see a little bit of it, that's fine. So there's that. You also have a long piece of crochet thread. I'm going to fold it in half and cut it. And then I'm going to tie a bow. And I'm going to use a little glue dot. I'm going to put it right over where that printed bow was, and I'm just going to lay this right on top. All right. And then we have the birthday and the wishes. Now, on the back of your wishes, you're going to have this little piece of washi tape, and it may look like junk, but on the back is a little dot to your eye, so you don't want to lose that. And then on your word birthday, you also have a blue piece of Post-it tape, also your I for birthday. So let's not lose those. All right, so now we're going to layer up our blue letters on our white. I'm going to put some glue on my hand, the blue letters onto the white background, just like so. All right, and then we're going to do the birthday. And then we're going to put those little dots on. So I'm going to put some glue there and there. And this one. All right, so there we go. Wipe that glue off my hand. All right. So now I'm going to put some foam on the back. You don't have to, but because you've already got the tag popped up. So if you don't want another layer of foam, you certainly don't need it. All right, so I'm going to put the birthday on first. There are lines on the tag, so you can use that to keep it straight. I kind of have it between the first 1, 2, 3, and fourth line, if that helps you for placement. Centered left, right. And let's backing off of wishes. And lay this one down like so. That card is finished. Okay, for our last card, have a wonderful birthday. And we will start with the base of our card. So you need the card base, you need this blue piece of paper and your 2 snowbanks. Or this is not blue, this is pink piece of paper. And we're going to lay it down just like so. You want it to have the same size border, white, all the way around. That will help you get it lined up. With the circle at the bottom, we're going to cover it up with a snowbank. All right, so at the top, whoops, and then I'm doing it wrong. So that's the way we want it, just like so. And then this larger snowbank is going to go just like so. It's going to have the same border, and we're just going to glue it straight down, and it will cover up the hole there for us. Line it up on the sides and at the bottom, just like so. And then this remaining snowbank you can glue flat. I did pop mine up, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Put some foam at the bottom. And I do want to leave just a little, like I'm still going to put foam at the top, but just not like right up to the very top. So I could tuck in a couple of those trees. So maybe something like that. Oops, I don't need both of those. Like that. All right. So let's put that piece down. There's that snowbank. And so now we need to work on the tree. So you should have 5 of them. Got large, got 2 medium and 2 small. Okay, and then you have 3 of these trunks, but we're going to cut them in half. So this largest, they kind of go in thickness and size. So large, medium, small, just like the trees. And so I hope I'm on camera here. I can't really tell. So this one, I don't really need to cut down. I'm going to tuck it in there. But these other 2, I'm going to cut in half. Oops. Because we really don't need that much showing. So I'm going to glue this one to the back of the large tree. Oops, I didn't need glue all the way down. That's fine. So you probably want about 1/4 of an inch showing. Those. There's that one. And then for the 2 medium, a little glue there. That. Do the same for the 2 smaller ones. Oh my gosh, I keep flipping them everywhere. I'm just trying to put that finished edge on the bottom, but it doesn't really matter. They're really not going to show that much. All right. Okie doke. So there's that. And then we've got our sentiment. So what I'm going to do is lay my sentiment about where I want it, just so I don't cover it up. So I have this larger tree up here in the front, and then the medium tucked in behind, and then the small light blue one I have tucked here. And this one is up on this hill, which I may have to put it like this. And then this one here. All right, so something like that. And the only ones I popped up this one here. The two dark blue ones are the ones that I popped up. So, all right, so there's that last tree. And then I did pop up my sentiment. So I'm going to pop that up. All right, so that's going to just nestle right in here at the top. What I'm doing. Perfect. All right, that finishes that card. All right, we have finished this card class. I hope you enjoyed these little, hopefully our last nod to winter around here. We're ready for spring. If you're interested in a kit, you can look for us on the web. It's from momentstomilstones.com, and you can search our card kits there. This is the Winter Fun, the Winter Fun paper pad class. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.